Jordan Morris with the late winner. USA 2, Jamaica 1 in the Gold Cup Final. Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show quick take, hot take review of the Gold Cup Final. I'm Darryl Grove, he's Taylor Rockwell. We've hit record a minute maybe after the final whistle to give our quick opinions of, or our quick take on what just happened. What just happened, Taylor?
The United States are the Gold Cup champions of 2017. They defeated Jamaica 2-1. I guess reversing the scoreline from the 2015 semifinal, not the final.
I like your announcer voice.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
So we'll do a full review. Right? We'll rewatch bits and we'll give some analysis of the game. This show is to just capture that emotion straight after the final whistle. I'll tell you this, I am surprised how excited I am that the USA has won the Gold Cup.
I mean, it is a major international tournament in terms of it is one of the major confederations, or one of the confederations in the world.
It's an official confederation tournament.
Johnny Infantino was there being asked questions that he had no interest really in answering, but he did his best. Yes, I mean,
it's part of his job.
Head of FIFA there. That shows you that it's a pretty big tournament, and it means the United States, if there is a Confederations Cup, at least qualifies for the playoff for the Confederations Cup, which is always nice.
That's a whole other conversation with Qatar in the future.
First of all, well done to you for not saying that's a whole nother. Well done. But second of all, and it's also the fact, like, it is more concrete evidence that things have turned around, that the United States have found some form, that they looked very good this evening. I know some people maybe weren't as impressed by the overall game. I thought the United States executed the exact game plan that we wanted them to execute.
Yeah, which is to sort of be patient, know that Jamaica's going to sit back, don't get caught on the counter. All those things happened, right? Not rely too heavily on crosses.
Yes, which I guess maybe the commentators disagreed with us on that one, but I'm really happy that we didn't see the United States just playing the ball out wide and trying to get bodies into the box.
And actually, I'm really into the Giassi Zada's approach, which is to fake a cross that you know will be headed into the path of one of your teammates instead.
Yeah, because that would be I know some people will then say, like, well, the United States winner came from a cross. No, it didn't. It came from Giassi Zada's hitting a ball in the general vicinity of the goal where no one was. No one was within 6 yards, maybe 10 yards of that one, but it's a terrible headed clearance.
We'll go back and get a good look at it, but my memory of it is Jermaine Taylor, the centre-back, does one of the things we talked about, which was like he gets there, but it's not necessarily...
It's a scrambling header,
It's a scrambling header that he clears into the feet of Clint Dempsey, who then inadvertently sets up Jordan Morris for that great finish.
Yeah, and I would say, number one, I think the way I described
Jordan Morris on our screen right now.
There he is. The way I described this to our buddy Albert was like it was a terrible cross and yet somehow an even worse headed clearance because he really does... He's like scrambling towards that near post and just tries to get ahead to it, but in so doing heads it right back towards the penalty spot. Clint Dempsey tries to settle it. It takes the deflection off Dempsey. Morris finishes. And I do wonder if part of this was because Andre Blake went out with that injury.
Yeah.
Nothing seems to be broken, but regardless, he was substituted out. And I wonder if that was sort of the Jamaican defense scrambling and being like, oh, we don't know who's back there. We got to make a play. And then made a mistake.
Well, I saw the Jamaica-Mexico game.
This is true.
And Andre Blake was there, and there was plenty of defensive scrambling in that game as well.
But I was surprised that we didn't see... I felt like Jamaica's defense was much better tonight.
Yes.
And so with that in mind... That was like the one time that I remember them really, really scrambling. Again, we'll go back and see if that holds up over the course of the game.
But you're right, because in the Mexico game, we saw a lot of weird defensive headers, like putting themselves in trouble and a lot of kind of clumsy stuff. Not so much tonight until right at the end.
Yeah, and so this game, and for that reason, I feel like this game is one of those ones where, 3 goals in a game is always makes it a little bit interesting. But I think some people, as I said, might think it was a little bit boring or that the United States didn't look that good. But I think that this was a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I'd say it was entertaining.
Yeah,
and I was entertained. If Russell Crowe asked, I'd say yes.
There you go. Nice. I think he would scream it, not so much ask it, but yeah. But I think it's also one of those games where if you go back and watch the tactics of it and how the teams kind of addressed each other's strengths and weaknesses, it was pretty captivating in that regard as well.
And from an emotional perspective, the one thing I really enjoyed is after the US conceded an equaliser, start of the second half, US conceded an equaliser, you saw Bruce Arena be like, all right, we're making changes. The changes were, I think Dempsey came on in the 55th.
Yep.
So 8 minutes after the equaliser was conceded. There wasn't a wait type situation.
54th, excuse
54th,
me. But yes.
All right, so it was as quickly as possible, I think, after the goal was conceded.
Yeah, basically, goal goes in the 50th, and then, you can imagine Bruce Arena calls Clint Dempsey back from warming up, gives him his instructions, lets him put on his shin guards, take off
stretch
that
those
bib.
hammies, Clint, do some stretches, get a warm-up, get in there, go make
Well, I think he'd been warming up.
Dempsey got the assist.
I'm saying that it probably took him 3 minutes to come back, get the instructions, sit on the bench, take the penny off, put the jersey on, put the guards in, then go to the fourth official.
Okay.
So, I'm with you, though. That's probably the fastest he could have been on the field.
Fast changes, right? Yep. And then I really noticed, last 15 minutes, okay, it's 1-1. We're kind of coasting towards extra time. I was definitely like thinking of our schedule, thinking, okay, we're going to be here at least an extra 40 minutes for extra time and penalties. But you saw things like Tim Howard running to get the ball for a goal kick and putting it on the spot and playing it short really quickly. Basically, the US was definitely in the mindset of, let's make this happen. Let's win this in 90.
Yeah.
Right? No, we're not going to like save our energy for extra time. We're going to try and win this in 90. And that is exactly what we got.
Yeah, and so it was a U.S. team that was, I think, aggressive from the start, even more so in those final 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think the substitutions that we talked about, like especially that Clint Dempsey one, that Clint Dempsey substitution is Dempsey for Kellen Acosta. And then it's Jordan Morris goes out wide, Darlington Nembby comes in central.
Oh, it's an aggressive substitution.
And that to me is a very aggressive attacking substitution. It shows the United States back themselves, put in an attacker, and figured we can make something happen, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they moved the formation around, but it was essentially sort of a central, like a number 8 for a number 10.
Yeah.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
So that's if you're just going to look at it as simply as that.
And I think if there's one person who's really happy with the way things went, aside from everybody on the field and Bruce Arena, it's Michael Lazar, the scout for Jordan Morris.
Yes.
Because he tweeted us like, I'm going to go ahead and not file a scouting report today because that Jamaica equalizer came from Jordan Morris making a little bit of a foolish mistake. He kind of stepped at the wrong moment, got beat, ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
So then for him to get the winner, it is kind of a redemption for him.
All is forgiven. I also, just before we hit record, I saw a tweet from Michael Lazar. He was retweeting Bobby Warshaw.
Yeah, the pine tree.
Yeah, are those cardinal trees? Is that what that's about?
I guess so, yes.
I'm pretty sure Bobby Warshaw went to Stanford, so I think it was all about Stanford, right?
I believe he did as well.
How
could we both possibly know that?
I don't know.
It's in his book.
Oh. That is how. That is how.
Which one of us appears to be reading then?
Anything else that you wanna hit on before we sort of wrap this up and go to the full review? We're going to rewind this and start over.
I mean, it seems a little short for our quick.
Well, we haven't talked about the first goal.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the Josie Altidore free kick.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely worth mentioning.
So I love the idea of Josie. So a lot of people had noted that Josie hadn't scored a competitive goal for the US in a long, long time and not in a tournament in a long, long time, which I know is a lot about injury, right? Because he kept going down with injuries.
Didn't he score on the semifinals?
I was going to say. When that happened. So
those people are difficult to please if that's the case.
When he scored in the semi, people talked about how it had been a while and maybe he's not a tournament goal scorer and all that sort of stuff. But tonight he steps up, puts it top left corner.
He does. And going back to Twitter, I apologize to whomever tweeted this, but they posted a GIF of his free kick goal against Bosnia-Herzegovina, and it looks identical. Like it's basically same, roughly the same spot, but it's that same bend, same near post, but top corner. It's a perfectly hit free kick, and it's a testament to him being confident because that free kick was when he was sort of in that really good run of form where he was scoring, looked really, really strong, looked really, really deadly. So it's good to see him back to that level of confidence and form.
Look out, Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I think so. But I thought also he was just really impressive, not just from scoring a free kick, but I thought his mobility was once again really good.
Yes.
He did a very nice job of dropping deep because there were times when Michael Bradley and Kellen Acosta would spread a little bit, or Michael Bradley would kind of go to one side to try to create an overload, and Kellen Acosta would be forward. And you'd see the center backs get the ball, and there'd be a big gap, and then you'd see Josie Altidore dropping back 10 or 15 yards to create space to open up and to be a passing option.
And I think you probably saw the way we would like to see a Jordan Morris-Josie Altidore partnership, which is maybe Morris on the shoulder of defenders a bit more, and Altidore coming deep and connecting play, which I feel like I keep saying it on this show, but it's kind of an underrated aspect of his game, that he's not just a forward, he's almost a second forward in that sense. Like he can come back and like connect passes and make things happen.
So I think we've talked a lot about the positive stuff. There certainly was some negative stuff, but I kind of want to hold off on that one a little bit until we can go back and watch a little bit more, because I know a fair few people were frustrated by both Jorge Villafana and Graham Zusi's defensive efforts.
Really?
As well as our two center backs. So I'd like to go back and see, because I was... Of the back four, I would say I think the most impressive, in my opinion, was Matt Beasler. I thought he did a really good job of covering ground. I thought he made some crucial interceptions and blocks. And it also felt like he was he knew what was expected of him in terms of when that ball needs to get clear, it's getting clear. It's not going to be like, I'm going to take a touch, maybe try to find a passing option, and then maybe give the ball away. It was just like, nope, putting it away.
I have in my head, again, we'll rewatch, but I have in my head of a 5-10 minute spell that was a lot of Matt Beasler sort of slamming the door and just banging balls back upfield.
Yeah, which is kind of what you want. Like, yes, you also want to establish possession and keep the ball and move it around, but there are definitely those times when it's just sort of like, ooh, there are too many Jamaican players in here. Let's make sure that ball's not here anymore.
I also thought Graham Zusi, we had a lot of tweets about, we talked about Graham Zusi being fast, and we listed him among the fast players.
Yep.
He tracked down a Darren Mattocks on foot.
and then got beat.
He did.
You left that part out.
Right, but his pace wasn't found wanting, but then his defensive posture was found wanting.
Yeah, and also worth noting that's Darren Maddox with the ball, which
Yeah,
is always going to slow you up a little bit.
That's true.
And so I think that's what I want to go back and see, because I have the memories of Graham Zusi, Omar Gonzalez, and Jorge Villafana doing some good stuff, but I also have memories of them, mostly Graham Zusi and Omar Gonzalez, also doing some bad stuff.
Oh,
so
really?
I'd like to see
I
over
feel
like
a bit better about Omar tonight than in previous weeks.
But
previous
even
days.
like, for example, in that sequence that you're talking about when Graham Zusi chases down Darren Maddox, it's because Omar Gonzalez backs up, then steps, and then gets roasted.
Yes.
Like absolutely,
I forgot about that.
in the way that you would not know he was a defender. You would think it was like a striker doing his best to play defense. Like he just got destroyed, and then yes, he makes up for it and pokes the ball into touch. But you'd rather see him not get beat in the first place. So I can't tell if it's sort of the emotion of the win combined with the sort of tension made me not be able so much to focus on the overall game plan of, say, Omar Gonzalez.
One final thing I'd like to say then before
and
we
that's why we're going to have a full review.
Yeah, exactly. So before we wrap this up, is I really enjoyed the way that the US moved the ball.
Yep.
Once again, like I felt like every time a US player received the ball, there was someone making a forward run beyond them.
Yep.
And I think any criticisms you had of like Zusi and Villafana, they were doing a good job of saying Nagbe received the ball, you immediately saw Villafana streaking outside of him. And that same sort of thing was mirrored kind of all over the field, right? Bradley would receive the ball and he'd have another midfielder or attacker going past him ready to show for the ball.
To the extent that there were like times in the second half where I was just like, okay, and here comes Villafana, and then he would come on the screen.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in games past and in times past with this US national team, it's been like, why isn't anybody there? Somebody needs to be there. In this game, it was more like, someone's going to be there, just give it a sec, and there he is.
Yeah, it looked like there was a definite plan and very basic instructions, but instructions and a definite like determination to move the ball around the field quickly. I saw us switch, because Jamaica had their team like compact and collapse a little bit on top of themselves, like really like a lot of bodies to try and get the ball through and break down. And the US would like pass the ball quickly from right to left and back again, and then overlaps and eventually open them up.
Basic is fine if basic works.
Yes.
And if basic means you're the Gold Cup champions, then basic is especially fine.
And, okay, I don't want to do this too much on the review, but I maybe want to mention it here. Jurgen Klinsmann lost to Jamaica in the semi-final.
He sure did.
He sure did. Bruce Arena brought the B team, switched it up to the A-ish team in the knockout rounds. Now he has the Gold Cup trophy.
And I'll go ahead and say this, and I'm sure we'll hear about it. We had plenty of people in the group stage say, do you miss Jurgen Klinsmann yet? I didn't really want to get involved in it then, but I'll say now, no, I do not, is my answer.
Which is easy to say that after a win, right?
It was kind of easy to say it then, too.
But I think I should eat a little crow, which I think is an American phrase. I was not a fan of the sort of pick a B team, then switch it up after the group stage, because then it just felt weird to me. It felt like if you're going to pick these guys, if you really think Dom Dwyer and Kelly Moore are the guys to see through the Gold Cup, then they should get the chance to go all the way through the Gold Cup and to play against Costa Rica and Jamaica, or if it had happened, Mexico. But obviously now seeing the difference in performance between that sort of that B team and the A-B plus team, I can see now why Bruce Arena did it.
I would also add that if those two had stayed, it probably would have been at the expense of, say, players like Juan Agudelo and maybe Joe Corona, both of whom didn't really feature from that point on.
True.
So even if they'd been here, I'm not sure they would have actually played very many minutes.
True. All right. Okay, final quick take then. What do we make of Clint Dempsey not starting? Because we were kind of leaning towards thinking, all right, there's no more games after this. We expect Dempsey to start.
We thought he might because of what Jamaica was probably going to do, but by the same token, I believe we also said that this is where we kind of expected Bruce Arena to be Bruce Arena and stick with what's been working.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind...
But what was working was Dempsey.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but I think it was working with Dempsey as a substitute is the key thing there.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe this was also Bruce Arena, because there was some talk, I think, like if in the post-match... pre-game stuff, which I was here for because Fox. There was a lot of questions of like, you know, are you okay with being a substitute? What do you think about your future with the team? It was a lot, and that seems to have been the sort of talking point. Is like,
what did he say?
I think he said like, you know, whatever helps the team. Like it's kind of what you'd expect him to say. And so I think like that was maybe Bruce Arena not wanting. And the best analogy I can give is like when Alex Rodriguez, there are way better ones, but this is one that comes to my mind.
Baseball player?
When he first moved to the Yankees and he was a shortstop, Derek Jeter was a shortstop, and there was this whole debate about what would happen. He went to third base, Alex Rodriguez, and then Derek Jeter got hurt. Alex Rodriguez stayed at third base because it was basically like, well, I don't want to bring him to shortstop, and now there's this whole debate about like, well, who should be starting there? And so I think this was Bruce Arena saying like, yes, he looked good as a substitute. Yes, he'd probably be good as a starter, but I don't want it to like lead to more debate. he's a substitute.
So almost like Bruce is shutting down the debate by having him come off the bench today and making a difference in the game.
Yep.
So now a pattern is kind of established.
Yeah,
so next time it happens, it's not weird.
Yeah,
right? It's not
so.
necessarily a talking point. Okay.
There we are.
All right. The team is receiving the trophy on our TV.
Yep.
So this feels like a good point maybe to wrap up the quick take, hot take.
I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Bradley's literally got his hands on the trophy.
I think he just got instructions on how to lift the trophy from some CONCACAF official. So that's fascinating.
Like, I'm American. I know how to lift the Gold Cup trophy.
I've done this before.
All right, Taylor, we will say...
Has he done this before?
I'm not sure.
I'm
we'll
not
look
sure
into
he
that. Okay, so our long review will be out, I'm going to say, late tonight. We're going to stick around, do a deep review, put it out late tonight. Until then, Taylor, you Gold Cup champion. I'll talk to you soon.
Am I?